We're live. Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Welcome to Earth School Journey. We are here for a week two of our nature month, our month focusing on seeing our divinity and our oneness through nature. I am Umi Steph. I am your co host, and this is my lovely co host, Uni. Uni, how are we doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you today?
I am a little frantic, but good. It was a busy day, and we're getting started just a tad bit late, but not too late. So I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Um, I did want to say, I don't think we talked about it last week, but last week was our 1 year anniversary of recording our school journey. And so we need to give ourselves a round of applause, classmates. It has been a year. We have been dedicated. I don't think we've missed maybe 1 week, but I don't really think. And that was like when I was on vacation last summer. But other than that, I don't think we've really missed anything. We've been really dedicated. We even did like Christmas week and New Year's Eve and everything. So I am really proud of us. I think we deserve a pat on the back. Yeah. So yeah, just wanted to announce that and talk about that a little bit and celebrate that for a moment. It's pretty big milestone to hit a year of recording and just doing this. And I just want to recognize like how significant it's become for my life. It really is like every week I do look forward to coming here and having these really soulful and thoughtful and spiritual conversations, um, and really grounding it in actual lived practicality. um, Anything you want to say about our 1 year, Uni?
Yeah, I feel the same as you. I'm just really, really grateful to have stayed dedicated to really meet that milestone. I feel like out of, I think even you had mentioned last week, like this is a part of our spiritual practice. It's really helping us to get in tune with so many parts of ourselves. And so it just feels good to have completed this. And I'm grateful to be working with you on this journey because I definitely was hoping to have someone to work with to help me get to this level. So the Most High answered my prayers, and I'm so grateful that we got this far.
Yes, me too. I'm so grateful that we came together and the timing was right, everything, and to have someone who, um, you know, will challenge me and will have bring a different perspective and isn't afraid to, what I mean, have a different perspective, and it's great because it helps me to expand. And so yeah, I'm really excited that we've hit this milestone. I look forward to hitting more milestones together,
Yes.
um, doing new things together on the channel. Yeah, so let's get into today's lesson. So, the opening question that we have for you all is, what happens when we stop seeing nature as something outside of us and remember it as an expression of the divine within us? And that's really what today's, whole episode is going to be about. It's about really, um seeing nature as the mirror that it is, the mirror of our divinity, seeing ourselves in nature, seeing that we are nature, that we are part of nature. And so let's just dive in. Let's dive in. Uh, so I guess the first thing we really wanted to go over, was nature as a divine expression and a teacher. I know Uni and we talk about nature all the time. You guys know this. Like our classmates know that like when it comes to nature, we like to wax poetic. It is very much where we are rooted and where the heart of, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, the heart of my spirituality is in nature. It really is. I get so many lessons and so much love, and I feel so connected in nature. And nature has taught me so much. So much. And I think especially the feeling of it, because we talk a lot about how like you can know something but not feel it. Nature gives me that feeling, that connection, that just, oh, I don't know how to like it's hard to put into words, what it's like my connection to nature is like being in love. You almost can't put words in it. It just is. And I think that is the beauty of it. um Uni, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to agree with you. I think that like when I started really going out into nature a few years ago, um, it was because it was from being on Clubhouse where you and I met,
Yep.
and I was sitting in someone's room on a regular basis, and there was someone in there, Armani, who would always talk about being out in nature. Like he just used to talk about it like it was the best thing ever. I mean, he talked about the trees, he talked about the birds, the water, the this, the that. I was like, I need to go outside. Like he just made it sound so poetic and so just ethereal and just I don't know. I mean, it was indescribable. You know what I mean? The way he
Mm-hmm.
talked about it, I can't even describe it. And so he was talking about it, and then one day I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out and catch a sunrise, and it just started from there. And we'll talk about it more as time goes on. But I started to understand where he was coming from, and I was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Like, I would get out of my car because I remember when I started, it was like it was pretty chilly outside. So some days I would sit in my car, and others I would get out. But I just like even when I got out of my car, even if I sat, it didn't matter. Just being out in nature, it just did something to me, and I understood
Mm-hmm.
exactly what he was talking about. And so yeah, this is near and dear to me, and I'm so excited to dive into nature for the rest of the month and beyond. We talk about nature in some way, shape, or
Oh
form
yeah.
all the
Every month,
time.
every
Mhm,
week, we
mhm.
always have something to say about nature, and I don't think
Yeah,
that'll change. That's definitely the core of like our spirituality.
yeah.
Speaking of nature, there goes the chicken. uh, oh, so I want to talk a little bit about nature as a divine expression. And you know nature reflects to us different qualities associated with the divine. And so creation is probably the easiest one to see out in nature, as you see seeds grow and germinate and come up through, and where seemingly there was nothing, suddenly there is something, right? And also, just when something dies, to see it renewed and to come back again, because in within creation is destruction, right? Because something dies, something new is born, and that is just the way that creation and life works, is that something has to be given up for something new to come through. Um, and we see that in nature, and just the way that nature so easily and lovingly lets go so that more can come forth. I think it is just beautiful to watch that cycle of death and rebirth every gardening season. Just, or I mean, honestly, within a gardening season you can pretty much see it two or three times. You have your spring, your summer, your fall garden, even sometimes winter, depending on where you live. um but to just watch that cycle of death and rebirth, and creation of something new. uh, I think that is something that I did not really understand about nature until later in life. I want to say I was definitely in my late 30s when I started really going out into nature or gardening or doing any of those things, before I realized these reflections of divine qualities that are in nature. And so another quality that we have, if you wanted to add anything on the creation, I'll give you an opportunity to do that, and then I want to move on to abundance.
No, you could go with
Okay. Well, so the next quality that we have kind of listed, we just have a few here just as examples. And classmates, you can definitely put in the chat any qualities that you see in nature and how you see them reflected in nature. I'd love for different perspectives on ways in which you see the divinity in nature, these different divine qualities. So abundance, Uni, you want to talk about abundance and how we see abundance in nature?
Sure. I think
A little bit of
that
typing work.
yeah. I think that nature is abundance to me. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
is just like its creation, it is abundance personified. I know it's saying we're like, oh, it's one of the qualities, but it is that, you know what I mean? It's all of the things working
Hmm.
together. Like you said, letting go, releasing, renewing, giving, receiving, sharing, they started talking a few years ago on the internet about how trees share resources through the roots underneath the ground.
Yep.
That's so abundant to me. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
can you can take one little seed and you can grow and this is a part of creation, but it leads to abundance where you take that one little seed and now you have 10 tomatoes on growing off a vine, or you have a whole bushel of herbs that you can use for different things. I mean, we'll go into healing and things of that nature later, but I mean, nature is just constantly giving and receiving. When I go to the park, I'm not going to lie, so I go to different parks. I like to walk, hike, jog. Lately, it's been mostly walking than anything. I'm not gonna lie, but I go to the park and I snap off a leaf or a little berry or something, and sometimes I feel a little bad. I'm like, is this the wrong thing, to do? Like, am I taking from nature? And then I'm just like, no, it's so abundant. It's, I'm not hoarding. I'm not being greedy. I just want to, snap a little leaf and, smush it between my fingers and get the essence. And you know what I mean? That's
Hmm.
another a part of the abundance of nature. You have something that you can see it, you can taste it, you can smell it, you can burn it, you can, you know what I mean? Um, there's been wars started over nature, over salts and herbs and teas and all of that sort of stuff. So nature is so abundant, and a lot of the natural resources that we have. That's why you see so much going on in the world today. But I will say that as abundant as nature is, I think the next point that we have applies. And if you don't mind, I'll just share a little bit about it, if you don't mind, where it's like
Yeah, sure.
leading. So the wisdom,
Right.
that's another quality of nature, and the seasons not only knowing to change, but um, and the cycles happening at certain times, and it may be a little, give or take a few days or whatever here or there, but there's so much wisdom in the cycles and the seasons and all the changes that happen within nature. And nature also knows when to reset. You know what I mean? I feel like
Mhm.
I've heard so many times, they're talking about all of the different ways that we are polluting the polluting nature. We are just doing, there's climate change, there's all these things going on, but we have to realize that the earth, nature itself, has literally reset the planet on I don't know how many occasions. So there's wisdom in the earth saying, okay, this is too much, I need to wipe out, we need a reset, we need to restart. So in all of that abundance, there's also it was just leading me into the wisdom of that as well, and knowing when a cycle has ended and when it's time for something new to begin.
Yeah, I think the wisdom in nature is so effortless. It's so effortless. I think about, I've raised chicks, and I don't have to sit there and teach them how to lay eggs. I don't have to teach them how to go to their nest box or how to roost, or I didn't have to teach my Izzy how to crow. He just started doing it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody teaches these animals. There's not even a mother hen to teach them. Like, they just innately know what to do. And it's the same with the plants. They just know how to grow. How does a sunflower know to follow the sun? It's just such effortless wisdom. And it really is just beautiful to watch. And when we relate it to ourselves, to know that we actually, as part of nature, have that same innate ability. We just, as humans, overthink things, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, about how we take ourselves out of nature. We make ourselves separate, but we really do have access to that same effortless wisdom, that same knowledge, that same knowing. We have just complicated things, and we don't listen to that innate wisdom. And so I really feel like we get into our 40s, and now look, we're trying to relearn how to effortlessly connect. And looking at nature for that example, for that reminder, I think is really just a beautiful thing. Presence is the last quality that we have that listed to talk about today. And I mean, you know presence when you look at like an animal, particularly something that hunts, how they just become fully tuned in to whatever it is they're hunting. Or I've never seen a tree that I didn't feel presence. Right. If you just walk up that tree is there with you. You can feel it. It may not be able to speak to you. It may not be able to announce to you that, hey, I'm here, I see you, but it does. If you have the presence and be with it, you will know that it is present with you. And I think practicing the presence, particularly through meditation and, just stillness, nature, plants, I want to say soil as well, not just plants, but soil and plants and rocks and, things that are slow and not moving. Like, you can really feel the presence, and also just get a lesson on what presence is. Those sunflowers, every single day, they just worship the sun. They just follow the sun from sun up to sundown. They move across the horizon with the sun, and they're just fully present with it. And so I think it's a wonderful teacher, and a wonderful way for us to mimic what nature is doing, so that we can also connect into that divinity. Yeah. Anything you want to add? No. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to the next topic, which is nature as healer. And there's so much that we can talk about with this, because this is honestly like one of my favorite topics as an herbalist. And I consider myself to be a nature mystic. And so this is really an area that is near and dear to my heart. nature has the ability to heal pretty much anything. I mean, literally anything. And I think that we just have gotten so far away from nature as our healer, because we have doctors. And I'm not speaking against doctors. I just really would love to see more collaboration, between doctors, and like bringing natural healing methods in along with some of the, more medical kind of scientific things, that we do to help people with healing. So the one of the things that I think one of the first things I found out about nature is how well it regulates the nervous system. You know, there's so many different ways. There's so many different herbs that help regulate the nervous system that you can drink, that you can burn, that, burning incense helps you to have a better, calmer presence, and calms your nervous system. There are teas that can calm your nervous system. Just putting your feet in the grass, just connecting to the soil or a body of water. Oh, nothing is more calming for the nervous system than a nice natural body of water. Yes, you could do it in your tub, but like a natural body of water. Just the ability, particularly for me, salt water. I find salt water to be very healing. Um, all water is healing, but I connect really like really strongly to salt water, ocean water. Um, it just has, and they're like, there's lots of science around this. If you've ever heard of earthing, oh, I can't remember what his name is, but there's a book about it that goes into the science of how we basically discharge our excess positive ions into the ground, and it really does ground us. It's literally grounding. Like it. If you ever buy any of the products that the earthing community puts forth, and I can't remember this guy's name who kind of started the research on it, but when you get that product that you use to earth indoors, right? It's like a mat or something like that, and you can put it down. You have to plug it into the ground in your outlets. And the first time I was like literally, we're literally grounding. We're allowing our bodies to discharge excess, ions that we don't need, that are building up in our system, and it's grounding us. It's connecting us to the earth. It's, balancing our nervous systems. And so like that's just one of many ways in which nature can heal our bodies. Do you want to talk about the next point that we have?
Sure. Yeah, being out in nature, it gives you so much opportunity to be still and to listen and to again go back to being present, and we talked about this a few months ago, how healing stillness is, and when you are in nature and there are those, pockets of time when it is quiet, maybe the birds aren't chirping for a few moments, and the water is still and the wind is pretty quiet, and you can just be still with nature. I'm telling you, it is such a beautiful experience. It allows you to process the whatever it is that you remove. I mean, if I don't remember what episode number it was, I got to start keeping a list, but we definitely went into the healing benefits of stillness. And I shared a lot about how when we were in quarantine, I was able to, in real time, understand the benefits of stillness because I leaned into it. I didn't go running to here or there or whatever. I allowed myself to be still, and I started to process things, and I started to feel, and I started to open up. Like I really, that opportunity of stillness really allowed me to go through what I needed to go through so that I could get to the other side. I was no longer running from my emotions. I was no longer disassociating. I was no longer reasoning and all whatever it was, running from things in various ways
Right.
and forms, And so I was able to actually hear my body and feel the ways that my body felt hurt in different environments that I was in. And I was able to, heal myself because I made the decision that okay, these environments are really not for me. Like when I really sit with myself in stillness and listen to myself, I'm able to heal because I realize that, okay, I know what my next move needs to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
From a place of wisdom instead of a place of, survival or whatever the case may be. And so, yeah, nature is an amazing, going out into nature is an amazing opportunity for stillness and listening. And I'm telling you, I was listening to even to the birds today. Like, just like, I was just like, okay, I'm going to listen to the birds, like all the different ones. And I was doing like a meditation, a listening meditation, listening to the birds and, focusing on different chakras while I was being still. And I'm telling you, when I left out of there, when I left out of that park today, especially like today, literally, I felt so good. I still feel good. So I invite anybody to really, really give it a chance.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And you kind of covered the next 2 points, which was how nature allows us to reconnect to our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and how it, when you're dissociating, you're out of your body, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not really there, and you're not present with what's going on in your body. And through stillness and through grounding and just experiencing nature, listening, smelling, tasting, feeling the textures and the different qualities that nature has, it really puts you back in your body. you know you simultaneously can be completely in your body and have this connection to the divine, to the allness of it. And I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful way that nature is healing of our idea of separation. And we're going to get into that a little bit more later. The last point that we have about healing is food is medicine. Food is medicine. And I think we've gotten away from that a lot. Mother Earth really does provide us with everything that we need to heal ourselves. You know, not just in the food that we cook on a daily basis, well, also in the food that we cook on a daily basis. So not just, oh, you have to mix this concoction or you have to drink this nasty, potion or combination of herbs or whatever. Uh, there's so many different ways. There's teas, yes. There's fire ciders and um, different things like that. But just eating your vegetables, eating vegetables that were grown by you, even, I find that to be one of the most healing experiences I've ever had, is to watch something sprout from seed, grow into this vegetable, and then to consume that vegetable. Because if you do it with intention and you do it with presence and you do it with respect and reverence for that plant that gave you that vegetable, I mean, it's an experience I encourage all of our classmates to do at least one time. Put a seed in the ground, grow yourself something, a fruit, a vegetable, whatever it is, and then eat it. Eat it. Be grateful for it. When you pick it, when you cut it, when whatever it is that you're harvesting, thank it. Thank it for its abundance. Thank it for, what it's provided for you. And just allow the nutrients and the goodness of that food to heal you. Um, we've gone so far off the mark with food in our society. Our food is barely food anymore. With all of these processed things, things being processed, it's so far away from its natural state. It's not even real food anymore. There's this like movement now to go back to whole foods, and I'm loving it. I am totally embracing it. I know that there are different camps. You have the uber Christians who push the whole food thing, and I don't care who you are, I don't care what you believe. If you're pushing, I'm not going to shame someone who's buying fast food, and I'm not going to shame someone who has to buy processed foods, but I will encourage people to embrace. I don't think everybody can afford to or is in a position to grow everything that they eat. And so I don't want to make it seem like that. Like it's not a you're not good if you don't do this, or you're doing something wrong, or we live in a society that has pulled us away from that. We don't have the opportunity to grow food, to see it. Whereas I want to say 50 years ago, it was normal to have a kitchen garden. It was normal to go outside and get your herbs, or to have a plant in your kitchen, that was your basil plant or your rosemary plant, and to get your herbs that way. It's 93 cents at Walmart to get cilantro. I'm like, do you know how cilantro grows in my front yard? The abundance of cilantro. And cilantro has so many medicinal properties. It's a detoxifier. Like, it is such a great herb, not just because it's delicious, but because it's really nourishing and good for your body. And there's so many different herbs that we could talk about, but that's just one example of something that grows in abundance. But our society has made it so that so many of us are in cities and urban areas where we don't have access to even dirt. Like, everywhere you go, there's concrete, trees growing up out of a little square of dirt surrounded by concrete. And, you might have that one neighbor who's got all those plants out on their fire escape. Or there's one thing I remember about like living in the city is, people there, you always had that one person, that one grandma, that one auntie who had all of the plants out on their, patio or front porch or back porch or fire escape or balcony. Like, there's just always that one person who's trying to hold on to that healing power that nature has. Anything you want to add?
Okay, thank you.
And so this next point is really kind of one of the biggest, I don't want to say issues, but it's the thing that I feel nature is the most healing of, and that is this idea of separation. We've talked about separation a lot. We've talked about oneness a lot, knowing our oneness, feeling our oneness, understanding our oneness, embracing it, having the authority that oneness gives us, right? Because we are one with God, the ultimate authority, right? Nature is one with God, the ultimate authority, right? And so this illusion of separation, us as humans, we have to put the categories. They can't be, both and. It's always either or, right? And so many of us have an issue with both and, right? An example of this is, humans versus nature. As if humans are not nature. As if we are something separate. As if our bodies are made of something different than what the rest of nature is made out of. I'm actually reading a book now called the Spiritual Ecology, and one of the essays is called uh, I can't remember the exact title, but it talks about trinities and how we have like the Holy Spirit and Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and um, just body, mind, spirit. Those the different trinities that different spiritual I don't want to call it, not religions necessarily, but different spiritual schools of thought have put forth. And this particular essay that I'm reading, their trinity is soil, soul, and society. And it's talking about how really humans have this idea that not only is there categories, but there's hierarchy. And so humans have placed themselves above nature. And this is really going to go to our next point where we start to talk about climate change. But we have this idea that like we have to control nature. We have to kind of harness it, that it is here to serve us. Not that we are equals, not that we are on the same level, right? Um, and the harm I think that does to not just the earth, but definitely to the earth, but to ourselves, our souls, our spirits, our bodies, as we try to enforce this idea that like nature is here subservient to humans, when nature and human, it's the same thing. We're the same level. um and I want to give you an opportunity to respond to that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We are nature, and I just think that we have to get out into nature more to really see that and to observe that and to feel that, and just see the way nature goes through the different cycles of releasing and regenerating itself. You have certain parts that come back annually. You have certain things you have to be intentional about. You have, some seeds spread. You know what I mean? Like there's just so
Yep.
many different things, so many aspects rather of nature that are just so much in alignment with ourselves. And I agree with you about just this whole man versus nature thing where they want to not work with it. Though, as you were speaking, I was thinking like they don't think about co-creating with nature or working with nature. It's all about harvesting and controlling and taking over, and it's just like that's not how it works. And like I said earlier, Mother Nature has a way of letting man know who's who and what's what. At
Right.
the end of the day, and I just wish that we would be more. I just wish more of us would be more proactive or had the perspective of working with nature.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think this idea that humans have of, things being separate into different categories and hierarchy, specifically like something, one thing is better or higher or lower than another. It really does reinforce this idea of separation. And as we really look to nature, you know, we look at, we have these all these categories that we place things in: spiritual versus physical, sacred versus ordinary, self versus everything else, inward versus outward. As we look to nature, you really see that it's all connected, that everything is connected. I mean, we literally eat sunshine. We eat the water that comes from the earth. It all, if you look at a plant and you look at the life cycle of a plant, if you look at where its food comes from, how it makes its food, it's literally water and minerals from the earth and sunshine from from the sun. Like the sun is in the food that we eat. We are not only a part of Mother Nature as in Earth, but the entire universe. Because without sunlight, there would not be food. Even animals that we eat, they eat grass. Cows, chickens, all of these animals that we eat plants, they eat grass, they consume sunshine, they consume the earth. And then, some of us then consume those animals. And it's this, if you look at the connection, it's reminding me of, I talk about this from time to time, the end poem, one of the lines in the end poem in Minecraft. I'm laughing because I always bring up Minecraft. It's such a great like spiritual analogy. But the end poem in Minecraft, there's a line in there that talks about a woman going around the earth and gathering atoms to form a new human that she then births. And that's exactly, if you think about it, that's exactly what it is. A woman eats, consumes, plants and animals and different pieces of nature, and those things come together to grow a baby. And then that baby is born. It is literally just nature. It's all one thing. We are all one thing. We are one with Mother Earth. Mother Earth is one with the solar system. The solar system is one with, the universe. It is, and the universe is one with God, as we are. And so I think the biggest lesson we can get from nature is our oneness, is our divinity, our connection, our interdependence. As humans are interdependent on one another, but we're also interdependent with the earth. And the earth is interdependent with us as we move into this next point. Climate change and just the divinity of nature. If we take care of the earth, she will take care of us. And if we don't take care of her, she can't take care of us. She will shake us loose. I say this. I have this vision of the earth kind of doing what a dog does when they like shake flies and stuff off of them. And I know that like there's been ice ages and different things have gone on over the millennia that the earth has been around that has basically almost ended all of humanity, and then it has come back again. And so when I think about this idea that like the climate change is real, nobody can tell me anything else, and I'm not trying to be polarized about that or anything, but we've had some really weird weather patterns. There was 2 tornadoes in China this week, and I've never in my life heard of China having tornadoes. Like, where did that come from? Random. And this heat wave that we're having is completely unnatural. 117 degrees in Virginia, mid July, early July. I can't even say mid July. It was only the first week. It was 100. This greenhouse hit 115 at one point. And that's with the door in and a fan going. It's still 115. It's crazy. So I feel like I'm talking too much. So Uni, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you have, what do you have to say about climate change and the divinity of nature?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's just really important to pay attention to what the things that we are doing is doing to nature. We have bodies of water that are filthy, and you can't tell me, like, I don't believe for 1 second that some of these bodies of water didn't start off just as clear as they are in the Caribbean, you know what I mean, or in other places. And it's like I feel like we continue to do things that are affecting nature in a negative way, causing climate change, causing our worth, excuse me, our earth, our water and the land and everything to be polluted, you know. And you can't tell me that there are not better ways to do things. I feel like it's gotten way worse over the last, give or take, 100 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, prior to the, you know, at the start of the industrial age is when it started to go berserk, and it's when a
Right.
lot of these corporations and these powers to be came into play, and they wanted to take over things and mass produce and so on and so forth. And I just think that we just have to pay attention, and we all have to do our part. You know, one of the reasons, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, we decided to do this podcast is because we wanted to lend our voices in a positive way. And we may be small fish right now in a big pond, a humongous ocean sea full of, or a sea full of podcasters, but we want to make sure that we're putting the right energy out there, and you know, no matter how, you know, no matter the size of our platform, let me say that. And I think that we all have to take that into consideration, you know, no matter what it is that we have, we're making sure that we are doing the best that we can. We are, you know, working with biodegradable products. We are being sure to reuse what we can, and thrift and share with our neighbors and all those sorts of things. Think about the way some of the things that we use are going to affect the earth. You know, all this plastic everywhere and all this polyester. It's just a lot of things that are that we are being, you know, that are being pushed on us. That is definitely causing, you know, climate change to really affect us. You know, they say that the, you know, um, I was gonna say that the continents used to be connected, and I mean that was way before what I'm thinking here, though. But I definitely want to say that the industrial age has, in the short, however many, you know, 100, 150 years, it has definitely um, made a great impact on the earth. And I just don't see it getting any better with the way things are going with them mass producing food products. Like you said, this isn't even food that they want us to eat. You know, they're mass producing
Mhm.
these food products, and these things are definitely affecting us. And it is showing us what it is to come. You know what I mean? It's not going to get any better unless we make a change.
Mhm.
We have to be the change that we want to see. We have to be the ones to make that change, and then nature will reflect that change. You know,
Right.
I do believe that it's possible. So yeah, we have to do our part, and we have to speak up. We have to advocate where we can. A lot of this has gone on because no one speaks up. No one, you
Right.
know, no one chirps up. And, you know, they always say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? And so if we do not speak up, we are not going to leave our children and our grandchildren in a good world, you know. So
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that this idea of what are we leaving? What are we leaving behind? You know, uh, do we want our children to have to deal with all that we're leaving behind? You know, all of the trash, all of the pollution, all of the I- at some point it's either we're going to change and do better, or the earth is just going to it's just going to do what it has to do to reset itself, you know. And we don't know exactly what that looks like, but what I can tell you is that the atmosphere, the air. It doesn't know anything about a border. So you can't say that it's, the United States does this and it's, you know, better here, or that China does that, or that, some little country in this area is, clean, and so it's going to be okay. No, there are no borders when it comes to nature. The oceans interconnect. I mean, we call it the seven seas, but realistically, it's one giant body of water. One giant body of water above the ground, below the ground. It's just one giant body of water. And it's all connected through currents, through, it's just all connected. Forests, we deforest, deforestation. I think that's the word. I can't say it. But, there's all kinds of science that shows when you take down forests and things like that, that it causes other ecosystems to fail. That it causes other ecosystems to, have issues. If you think about things like invasive plants, when we try to take something that's pretty from one country and bring it to another country, and then it takes over and it completely kills off the native plants of that ecosystem. It's all interdependent, and the wisdom of nature is that it knows where to be. It knows what to do. And as we try to force it to do otherwise, we're breaking our earth, man. We're breaking it. And we need to really recognize that we have this interdependence in our oneness with the earth. We are part of the earth. The earth is a part of us. And so we have to stop looking as, nature is here to serve us, and know that we are here to serve each other. That Mother Earth agreed to allow us to host us, to be our host. And so we have to give it the respect that you would give someone as you go into their home, and you take care of it, and you are grateful and gracious. You don't take advantage.
Right. We're the ones visiting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, we are one with nature, and we are nature and all of that stuff. But understanding that as we are human beings, we are spiritual beings having this human experience. We are here to visit for a short period of time, and nature has been here long before we got here doing her thing, and she's gonna be here long.
We'll be here long
after. Unless she decides, you know what I mean, or it's all up to her. And I feel like there's this relationship that people just don't consider. The same way you have a relationship with yourself, you have that relationship with nature. It's like it's having a relationship with yourself. So
right.
Yeah.
And as we kind of move into closing for the evening, some of the kind of reflective thoughts I would like to leave with our classmates is, what does our relationship to the earth reveal about our relationship with ourselves, with our own oneness, with our own divinity? As you look at your individual relationship to the earth, are you somebody who doesn't think of nature as important? Are you one of those people who's like, ooh, nature? I know a lot of ooh, nature people. I used to be one. I used to definitely be one, and I can say that when I was in that period of my life, I was like, ew, nature. I did not feel connected to spirit. I did not feel connected to the earth. I did not feel connected to other humans. And so I really want us to ask ourselves and reflect on that. Like, what does our relationship to Mother Earth as a humanity, as an individual, as a society, as a community, what does it say about our relationship to ourselves, to our divinity? And have we really forgotten that we actually belong to the ecosystems that we depend on? We depend on the ecosystems to stay alive. If the ocean suddenly didn't exist, if it suddenly dried up, humanity would end. You know, the same with the trees. If all the trees suddenly died, we would have no air to breathe. Trees are literally the other half of our lungs. Without trees, there is no breath. And so these are all things that, I think I really want to encourage each and every one of us to take these things into our quiet time with spirit, to really contemplate them. Sit out in nature, sit up under a tree, sit out in the grass, lay out in the grass. You know, if you're for some reason not able to get out into nature, get a house plant, sit there and talk to it. Houseplants love to be talked to. They really do. Couple more questions. Are we living as consumers of the earth or caretakers of it? And this is something that I actually wrote a little bit about something like this. It wasn't in relationship to nature per se. It was in relationship to being caretakers of each other. And how, I feel what's missing from a lot of relationships is this idea of taking care. And I know, Uni, we've talked about this so many times before about how people just don't take care in their relationships. They're not careful. They're not intentional. They're not considerate. And as we do that in our relationships, we have to do it with our relationship to nature and the earth. You have to be considerate of Mother Earth. She is our mother. And so you have to be considerate. And so are we just consuming it? Are we just eating the food that we see in the supermarket? Are we just, using the earth in the way we want to use it, for recreation and fun? And or are we really taking care of what is taking care of us? Right? That reciprocity is really what I want everyone to kind of focus on. And finally, how might our love for creation, our love for nature, shape the choices that we make every day? And this question really grounds it. It really brings it into the practicality of how might your life be different if you were considering the divinity of nature? How might your everyday life be different if you were considering your oneness with nature, your unity with nature, your interdependence with nature? And so now I'm going to jump off my soapbox because I feel like I've totally been on a soapbox this entire episode. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to add?
Not really. Just, I think that we just got to really think about, I feel like we get so caught up in being in the house, inside. A lot of us are not taught to grow plants, like you said, start gardens. We're not taught the power of sitting out in the sun. We're not taught the power of, getting in the lakes, the oceans, putting our feet in the stream, sitting on the grass, just all of those things. I think that the earlier that we start to teach our children and have our children connected with nature, they don't necessarily have to be in a park on a slide or on the swings. There's so many things you can flip, you can, what I mean? There's so many things you can do out in nature. You can run, you can jump, you can lay on the grass. I just think that it's time we start to get our littles involved, so that they don't go so far with the forgetting as some of us did. You know what I mean? And I encourage people to, if you live somewhere that is clean, like I live in the city, so there can be all kinds of icky, gross stuff on the ground. But if you live somewhere where the ground is clean, take off your shoes outside, even if there's quote unquote dirt or soil. You know what I mean? Take off your shoes, walk in the grass, connect with nature. You will really start to get a heart. Your heart will start to soften for nature. And as your heart starts to soften for nature, that's when you'll start to feel that connection. And Mother Nature will literally take your hand and show you the way. It's what's happened for me. It's what's happened for so many other people that I know. They have been able to cultivate their own relationships. There's nothing we're talking about is uh, I don't want to say overrated. There's a word that's escaping me, but we're not exaggerating.
Right.
We are
Right.
not exaggerating. You start to cultivate a relationship with nature. You will definitely start to feel closer to yourself. You will start to heal, and then you'll start to consider the ways that you can be more considerate in how you can make things better. So, thank you all so much for joining us. This has
Yes.
been an
Yes.
amazing episode. Um,
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, classmates. We appreciate you joining us, and we encourage you to share, your experiences with nature and the divinity of nature and your oneness with us in the comments, in the chat. And I think that's it for today. So I just want to say thank you. May you be guided, supported, and lovingly reminded of who you are. And this is our school journey where life is the classroom and love is the lesson. We'll see you next time.